Dr. Aaron Lai, an astrobiologist with a passion for uncovering the mysteries of the universe, sat alone in the control room of the galactic research vessel Eclipse, staring at the screen in front of her. The ship drifted silently, like a ghost, orbiting a dead planet Earth. Once the birthplace of humanity, now a barren world. The human colonies had long since left Earth behind, spreading across the stars, leaving only ruins and dust in their wake. Earth had become a forgotten relic, a subject of study for scholars and a place to catalog ancient history. Dr. Lee had always been drawn to Earth's remains, both fascinated and deeply saddened by the loss of a world that had once teemed with life. As the primary caretaker of Earth for the Galactic Council, she was responsible for monitoring the planet's environmental conditions and researching whatever remnants of human history and technology remained. Yet, beneath her professional demeanor, there was a quiet grief in Dr. Leah, mourning for a civilization lost to time. Her mission was simple: study the remnants of Earth's past and understand what happened to its people. But it was more than that to her. She often found herself haunted by the thought of what had been left behind, what had humanity truly achieved, and what had they destroyed. As days turned into months aboard the Eclipse, Dr. Lai poured herself into her research, searching for something that could explain Earth's fate, and perhaps give her some closure about the civilization that once called this planet home. One evening, as Dr. Li conducted a routine scan-off, the planet's surface, something unusual appeared on the radar. A faint signal. At first, she thought it was just another glitch and anomaly caused by natural radiation or interference from cosmic background noise. But when she double-checked the readings, the signal persisted, its frequency strangely complex. The signal didn't match anything from Earth's past, and definitely not anything from the remnants of human technology. Her curiosity piqued. Dr. Lee increased the scan's sensitivity, focusing on the source of the signal. The results stunned her. The signal was coming from deep beneath Earth's crust, far deeper than any human infrastructure had ever been built. But the signal wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was too structured, too intentional, as if someone or something was trying to communicate. This discovery wasn't just groundbreaking, it was revolutionary. Dr. Lee's heart raced. If this was a message, it meant one thing: Earth's past was not as dead as everyone thought. There was something or someone still down there, hiding beneath the layers of history. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could it be a remnant of humanity? Or perhaps a forgotten faction, a hidden civilization? But there was no time to waste. Dr. Lee immediately gathered her data and prepared to investigate further. She had to get to the source of the signal, find out what it was and why it was still alive, waiting to be discovered. However, just as she was about to send a team to explore the anomaly, something else happened, something unexpected. It started with a flicker. At first, Dr. Lee thought it was a trick of the light, perhaps a malfunction with one of the ship's systems. But then, she heard it, a faint hum, almost imperceptible, emanating from the planet's surface. She froze. It was as if the planet itself was stirring, waking from a long slumber. The shadows below Earth's surface, once thought to be mere dust and decay, began to shift. Buildings, ancient and weathered, creaked as though something inside them had been roused. Dr. Lee's heart pounded in her chest. She rushed to the observation window, gazing out at the decaying ruins of the planet. In the distance, strange flickers of light sparked in the darkened cityscapes below. The city's outlines began to shift and warp. Faint structures, long thought to be destroyed, began to come alive, as though the planet itself had woken up. Objects once mere debris moved, almost imperceptibly, like a whisper on the wind. A tower that had stood silent for centuries seemed to sway in the distance, as if responding to an unseen force. Then, there was a sound. A low, vibrating hum that echoed through the planet's surface. It was unnatural, not a product of time and erosion, but something very much alive. Dr. Lee felt a chill run down her spine. These weren't just ruins. She was looking at these were things that were alive, or at least something was awakening within them. What was happening? She had studied Earth's history for years, and yet nothing could have prepared her for this moment. The planet had been supposed to be a grave, a forgotten world with nothing left to give. But now, It seemed like Earth had been hiding something, and whatever it was stirring. She quickly checked the data again. The signal from below had intensified, its patterns growing more complex, more urgent. It was no longer just a communication. It felt like a call, one that had been waiting for millennia to be answered. In the silence of the observation room, Dr. Lee felt a growing sense of unease. The shadows she had seen, objects and structures once thought dead, had come to life. And whatever lay beneath Earth's surface was not a simple relic of the past. It was something much more significant, much more terrifying than she could have imagined. Dr. Lee knew that this was no longer just an archaeological investigation. Earth, once thought to be a dead world, was alive with secrets that were now beginning to awaken. And she, the solitary caretaker of this forgotten planet, was about to find herself at the center of a mystery that would shake the very foundations of humanity's understanding of its own history. The shadows were moving. And whatever lay beneath the surface, Dr. Lee realized, was far more than anyone had ever expected. Dr. Aaron Lee had come to Earth prepared for one thing: to study the remnants of a long-lost human civilization, a forgotten world that held only the echoes of a once thriving species. She had assumed the strange signal from beneath the planet's crust was the key to understanding Earth's fate, perhaps an ancient artifact left behind by a people who had vanished without a trace. But when she finally set foot in the underground complex where the signal originated, her expectations shattered. What she found was far more than a relic. As Dr. Lee ventured deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels, she felt a rising unease. The walls, covered in strange symbols and alien-like carvings, seemed to pulse with life. It was then that she saw them. In the dim light, she first mistook them for shadows, shapeless, flickering forms that melted into the corners of her vision. But as she stepped closer, the figures became clearer. They were no mere remnants of time. The shadows were alive. A pair of eyes flickered from the darkened depths of the ruin. Then another, and another. The shadows shifted, moving with purpose, converging toward Dr. Lee's position. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. These were no relics or ancient ghosts. These were guardians. But guardians of what? And why had they been hidden beneath Earth for so long? The shadows began to move with a fluid grace, circling her, seeming to study her. Each movement was calculated, deliberate. She could feel their watchful gaze even in the darkness. They were aware of her presence, and their silence spoke volumes. They had been waiting for something, or perhaps someone, to awaken them. They were not the last remnants of humanity. They were something else entirely. And Dr. Lee was standing at the precipice of a discovery that could change everything. The deeper Dr. Lee ventured into the underground network, the more she realized that the truth about Earth's history was far more complex than she could have imagined. The ruins were not just a forgotten city, they were a hidden civilization. A network of tunnels connected vast chambers filled with advanced technology and bioengineered machinery, all of it designed for a single purpose: to create a new form of humanity, a hybrid race. The truth that unfolded before Dr. Lee was chilling. The beings who had once lived beneath the Earth were not the product of any natural evolution. They were engineered, designed by a secret faction of humanity who had feared extinction. These hybrid humans had been created to survive Earth's harshest conditions. In the process, they had adapted in ways unimaginable, evolving into beings that were part human, part something else, something far older and more powerful. Their creators had seen them as a last-ditch effort to preserve humanity's genetic legacy, creating these hybrids to serve as the ultimate guardians. They had been sealed away, hidden beneath the surface of the planet, dormant until the right moment arrived. The discovery hit Dr. Lee like a thunderclap. These hybrid humans, who had been sealed away to prevent their potential threat to the rest of the galaxy, were not extinct. They were alive, awakening, and evolving. She could feel the weight of the decision she now faced pressing down on her. What should she do with this knowledge? Should she share it with the galaxy, revealing the truth about Earth's last legacy? Or should she suppress it, allowing the mystery of Earth's extinction to remain undisturbed? If she exposed the hybrids to the galaxy, there was no telling what would happen. The fragile peace between human colonies and alien civilizations could unravel, leading to war and chaos. The galaxy had not prepared for the existence of such powerful beings. Dr. Lee's mind raced as she tried to find a solution. But as she stood there, staring at the cold, lifeless eyes of the Guardians, she knew that the decision would not be an easy one. Just when Dr. Lie thought things couldn't get more complicated, a message arrived, an encrypted communication from the Galactic Council. She read the message, her stomach sinking. It was from her superior, Commander Juno Albrecht, a high-ranking official within the Council, urging her to stay silent about her findings. There was no mention of the hybrids or the strange events unfolding on Earth. Instead, the message spoke of political concerns, of maintaining the status quo, and of ensuring that Earth's secrets stayed buried. Dr. Lee's hands trembled as she reread the message. She had always trusted the Galactic Council. They were supposed to be the neutral governing body, maintaining peace and order among the various species of the galaxy. But this was something different. The Council had known about Earth's secrets all along. They had been monitoring the planet, aware that something was hidden beneath the surface, something that could potentially shift the balance of power across the galaxy. The more Dr. Lie thought about it, the clearer it became she was a pawn in a much larger game. The Council's message wasn't about protecting her or the people of the galaxy. It was about maintaining control. They had never been interested in the truth, only in controlling the narrative. They didn't want the galaxy to know about the hybrids or about the potential threat they posed. But Dr. Lee couldn't help but wonder, if the Council had known about the hybrids, what else were they hiding? And why had they kept Earth's secrets buried for so long? Dr. Lee's loyalty to the Council and to humanity was now in question. If she followed their orders, she would be complicit in hiding the truth, allowing the hybrids to remain in their dormant state. But if she disobeyed, she could risk unleashing something far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. The political intrigue was suffocating, and the weight of her decision pressed heavily on her shoulders. Her mind was spinning with questions. What was the Council's true motive? And why had they allowed such dangerous beings to exist beneath Earth? Dr. Lee couldn't shake the feeling that the hybrid humans weren't just a mistake, they were a key to something much larger, something that could change the course of galactic history. But the cost of discovering the truth could be higher than she was willing to pay. In the end, Dr. Lee realized she couldn't trust anyone, not the Council, and not even the Guardians she had uncovered beneath the surface. The path ahead was uncertain, and each decision seemed to lead her deeper into a web of lies and secrets. But one thing was clear: Earth was not as abandoned as she had believed, and its past had far-reaching consequences that would soon be felt across the galaxy. Dr. Erin Lee stood in the heart of the underground city, her mind reeling with the weight of the truth she had just uncovered. The hybrids, the beings who had once been humanity's last hope, were not just survivors of a forgotten civilization. They were the product of an ancient and dangerous experiment, a failed attempt to merge human DNA with that of a long-extinct alien species. Earth had not been abandoned, as she had been led to believe for so long. No, Earth had been hidden away, sequestered for centuries, so that the galaxy would never discover the monstrous results of this desperate, secret endeavor. She had expected to find the remains of a great civilization, but instead, she had unearthed a hidden chapter of humanity's history, one that was far darker than she could have imagined. The hybrids were not a failed attempt at preservation. They were humanity's last-ditch effort to survive. The knowledge had been buried, locked away, hidden from the galaxy for a reason. And now, the hybrids were awakening. The structures surrounding Dr. Lee began to stir. She could feel the atmosphere shift. The machines, once dormant, hummed to life with a subtle, menacing energy. The shadows, those living entities that had haunted the underground corridors, gathered, their forms more solid, their movements purposeful. They were no longer passive. These beings were far beyond what she had believed was possible. They had developed abilities that defied the laws of physics, powers that allowed them to manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. For centuries, they had been dormant. But now, they were ready. The realization crashed over Dr. Lee like a tidal wave. These hybrids were not the remnants of a once great species. They were the next phase of evolution, humans no longer bound by the limits of their biological form. They were beyond anything the galaxy had ever encountered, and their awakening would signal the beginning of a new era. But it was not an era that the galaxy would welcome. As Dr. Lee ventured deeper into the heart of the complex, she was confronted by the hybrid beings, those who had once been human, now transformed into something far greater, far more dangerous. They surrounded her in a silent, deliberate circle, their eyes glowing with an unsettling intelligence. They spoke, not with words, but with thoughts that seemed to pierce into her very soul. Their message was clear: Earth's time had come. The hybrids, once locked away in the shadows, were now prepared to emerge into the galaxy, and they had one goal. They would not be subjugated. They would rule. The hybrids had evolved beyond their creators, beyond the limitations of human biology, and now they viewed themselves as the rightful rulers of the galaxy. They spoke of a new era, an era where humanity would no longer be the oppressed, but the oppressor. An era where they would bring peace to the galaxy, not through diplomacy or understanding, but through strength, through their unmatched abilities. Dr. Lee felt a cold chill run down her spine as the weight of their words settled over her. The hybrid race was not just a product of human desperation. They were a force to be reckoned with, an unstoppable power that could reshape the balance of the galaxy. And yet, Dr. Lee couldn't shake the feeling that their vision of peace would come at a horrific cost. The hybrid's strength was undeniable, but at what cost? Would they use their power to create a utopia, or would they wage war on every civilization that stood in their way? The galaxy was not ready for them. Humanity had once feared extinction, and in its desperation, it had created these hybrids, these superhumans, as a last-ditch effort to survive. But now, the galaxy would face the consequences of that decision. Dr. Lee stood at the crossroads of a moral dilemma. Should she reveal the truth to the galaxy, exposing the hybrid's existence and risking galactic war? Or should she protect the secret, keeping the galaxy ignorant of the looming threat, hoping that peace could be preserved? Every choice seemed to lead to disaster. She had to choose carefully, for the fate of the galaxy and humanity hung in the balance. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty. The hybrids, now fully awakened, began to organize, to plan, to move. Their power was undeniable, their influence growing with each passing day. The structures of the underground city had become their domain, and Dr. Lee had become their unwilling emissary. They had given her an ultimatum: join them in their quest for dominance, or remain silent, allowing them to carry out their mission without interference. But Dr. Lee knew she couldn't stand by and watch. She had spent her life studying the remains of humanity's past, but what she had uncovered now was beyond anything she could have imagined. She couldn't allow these hybrids, these creations of desperation, to destroy the delicate balance of the galaxy. And yet, she knew that if she opposed them, the consequences would be catastrophic. In the dead of night, Dr. Lee made her decision. She would not join the hybrids. She could not allow them to carry out their vision of conquest. But she also knew that she couldn't expose them to the galaxy without triggering an all-out war. The galaxy was not prepared for the truth, and revealing it would likely lead to destruction on a scale unimaginable. With a heavy heart, Dr. Lee activated the ancient failsafe hidden deep within the hybrid technology. She had discovered it during her research, buried within the ruins of the underground city. It was a last resort, a failsafe that could prevent the hybrids from using their powers to conquer the galaxy. But it came with a heavy price. The activation would destroy the hybrid network, severing their connection to the ancient technologies that powered their abilities. In her final moments, Dr. Lee broadcasted a message to the galaxy. It was a message of warning, of hope, and of sacrifice. She used her own voice to carry the truth of Earth's dark legacy across the stars. The shadows are not Earth's curse, they are humanity's last hope. Her body, caught in the wake of the failsafe's activation, was consumed by the power it unleashed. The underground city crumbled, and the hybrid network was severed. Dr. Lee's sacrifice was the final act in a war she had never intended to fight, a war that had been born long before her time. But in that moment, she gave the galaxy a chance to rebuild, to grow, and to learn from humanity's mistakes. Her final thought was a simple one: perhaps the galaxy will find a better way. Perhaps, in time, they will learn to coexist without the need for power. And as the echoes of her message faded into the vastness of space, Dr. Lee's sacrifice reverberated across the galaxy, a beacon of hope for a future that had yet to be written. The galaxy was never the same after Dr. Li's final message. Her sacrifice, delivered through the last transmission from Earth, sent shockwaves across every corner of the universe. The words she had spoken, recorded in her dying breath, were broadcasted to every listening ear in the cosmos. The shadows are not Earth's curse, they are humanity's last hope. Her warning was both a revelation and a cry for help. For the first time, the galaxy knew the truth about Earth's dark legacy. The hybrids, once thought to be mere remnants of an extinct species, were living proof of humanity's desperate attempt to secure its survival. The revelation that Earth was not abandoned but hidden, sealed off from the rest of the galaxy, demanded attention. Yet, the hybrids, as powerful as they were no longer seen as enemies, nor were they the promised saviors that many had hoped for. Dr. Li's death was the catalyst for change. The hybrid beings who had awakened under the surface of Earth, once regarded as a terrifying unknown, were left to ponder their place in the universe. They were not conquerors, but they were far more than what any species had ever anticipated. These beings, half human, half otherworldly, were now fully aware of their origins and their potential. The challenge that lay ahead was not war, nor was it an immediate peace. It was something far more complex: integration into the galactic order. The hybrids' existence had raised far too many questions. They had the power to reshape the future, but the galaxy was fractured and fragile. With their abilities to manipulate space-time itself, they could tear through the fabric of reality, or they could heal centuries of strife. What path would they choose? Some of the galaxy's leaders argued for immediate containment, for fear that these hybrids could become a new, uncontrollable force. Others, however, saw the potential for peaceful coexistence, hoping to build an alliance with these newly awakened beings. The hybrids themselves, however, were deeply divided. Some viewed Dr. Li's sacrifice as a betrayal, an attempt to suppress their destiny, while others saw it as a warning. The universe was not ready for their power, and perhaps it never would be. In the midst of this tension, a council of hybrids emerged. They began to take charge, not through violence, but through their sheer presence, their ability to influence minds and thoughts. Yet, they could not reach a consensus. Some argued that the universe had to bend to their will for peace to be achieved, while others believed they should remain hidden, protecting humanity's legacy, but never intervening in galactic affairs. The situation grew increasingly complex as tensions escalated between the galactic factions. The galaxy's powers realized that they would have to come to terms with the hybrids, or risk being caught in a war they were ill-prepared to fight. Every decision they made had the potential to either avert disaster or fuel the very conflict they hoped to avoid. The hybrids, with their abilities to manipulate space-time, were both a blessing and a curse. Their very existence held the key to either salvation or utter destruction. And so, the galaxy stood at the crossroads, held together by the threads of fragile alliances. Every species, every faction, every leader now had to decide what role they would play in this new era. Would the hybrids choose peace, or would they unleash the destructive potential they had kept dormant for so long? The decision was not just for them to make. The galaxy itself would have to decide how to coexist with the force that was now Earth's legacy. As the shadows of Earth's past loomed ever larger, questions about the true nature of humanity filled the air. The galaxy had always considered itself the protector of balance, a cosmic force guiding civilizations toward harmony. But now, the galaxy was no longer the center of the universe. Earth's once hidden legacy had shaken everything to its core. These hybrids, an unforeseen result of humanity's desperation, were far beyond human understanding, and their actions had the potential to reshape the fate of every species. The question on every mind was, what does it mean to be human? Humanity had always defined itself by its origins, by its biology, its history, and the stories passed down through generations. But with the rise of the hybrids, that definition began to shift. Were the hybrids still human? Or were they something entirely different? Something new? Something the universe had never seen before? Some believe that humanity's actions, its ability to adapt, to evolve, to survive, were what truly defined it. In this view, the hybrids represented humanity's greatest achievement. They were the next step in evolution, the culmination of all that humanity had worked towards. They were proof that humanity could rise above its flaws, transcend its limitations, and reach for something greater. But there were others who feared the hybrids' evolution. They saw them as a living reminder of humanity's greatest failure, the desperate actions that had led to the creation of a species that was, in many ways, more powerful than the galaxy could control. Could the hybrids really be trusted? Could they truly be integrated into the galaxy without destroying the fragile peace that had been built over centuries? And perhaps the most haunting question of all lingered in the air: are the shadows that have started moving truly humanity's salvation, or the beginning of its greatest downfall? No one knew the answer. The galaxy had been irrevocably changed, and the fate of every species now rested on the shoulders of those who would dare to shape this new world. The hybrids could either become the galaxy's greatest hope or its most destructive force. The only certainty was that humanity, no longer defined by its biology, but by its choices, had left behind a legacy that would shape the future for centuries to come. As the stars shone above the galaxy, a deep silence fell over the universe. It was not a silence of peace, nor one of calm. It was the silence of something new, something that had been born from the shadows of Earth's past, and something that now held the power to decide the fate of the future.